So I enjoy canoeing. That's how I'm going to start today. I enjoy canoeing. It's more of a recent thing that I admire since living in Vermont, and obviously it wasn't part of my upbringing. Not to say that I'm any near being an enthusiast to invest to get one for myself, but whenever I get a chance to ride one, I will take advantage of it. So last weekend when we were at the retreat at Covenant Hills, I took Noah on a ride on a canoe. And as I was trying to lower the canoe into the water and hopped in and to balance my body to not flip the whole thing, trying that, and I remembered within that struggle, a short period of time, the last time I was on a canoe was exactly 2 years ago at our retreat at Covenant Hills. So it's been a long time since I canoed. So I began paddling. Again, I came to the realization that I haven't done this for a while. The canoe was heading towards left. And more to the left, closer to the bushes on the bank. And of course, Noah, who was sitting in the front, is terrified, screaming. And while trying to pretend that I'm under full control, I'm learning that I need to be much quicker than the pace in my mind when I'm moving the paddle from this side to the other side. Because if you stay too long on one side of the canoe, you won't end up where you want to end up. So this image, I want us to have this in mind as we study and reflect on the letter by James, the epistle of James. Because the immediate temptation for us to run into when reading James is that dynamic between faith versus works. We might ask, was it Paul all about only by faith? Wasn't that the reason why the reformer Martin Luther hated the book of James, because it talked about works? Well, I think Paul and James are trying to make a very different point. And what we need to remember is that Christian life is not about either or. It's not faith versus works. It's not about listening and knowing the word versus doing the word. But it's more like paddling the canoe forward. Know the word and do what it says. Know the word and do what it says. Some of us can be like, know the word, memorize the verses, being all about reading the book, taking our dictionaries, study. And some of us can be like pedaling on the other side. Do the word, being all about practical, it's all about practice. Studying the word is at the last of the list of my busy life. So as we journey through James, I want you to remember that it's about having both in your life. And James learned such balance from his older brother, Jesus Christ. So James, the author of this letter, is the younger brother of Jesus Christ. And by this time, James is now one of the heads of Christian church after Jesus Christ was crucified. And while all the other apostles spread out to different parts of the region, James is the one who stays in Jerusalem, the main headquarters. So he writes this letter in verse 1, it says, 12 tribes scattered among the nations. So this letter is not specified to one community, but it's all out to all those Christians out in the world. So when I was reading this, it was reminding me about that dramatic scene in the movie Transformer when Optimus Prime signals all the Autobots warriors while the dramatic background music and calling all Autobots to gather for this mission. So in a similar sense, James is sending out this instruction manual to his fellow Christians out there. The point is not about a theological argument of which one is more important, having faith or the works. But what was in James's heart for all his Christian sisters and brothers was pretty simple. And that message was, live well. Live well. So now let's get practical. Don't we just love when someone just tells us what to do? Like, there are some 1, 2, 3s that we want to hear and jot down in our notes. And there are some of those in verse 19. It goes like this. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. It says that. Take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And my initial temptation was to gravitate towards this list. This is a perfect 3-point sermon, right? It was a nice, practical, applicable sermon if we can unpack those 3 points. Quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. However, is this really about adding to the list of thou shalt nots of the 10 Commandments? Is it the extra 3 commandment that we need to add? Or is this really about leaving the sanctuary of feeling bad about ourselves? Feeling bad about the time you weren't a good listener? Regretting the words you spoke that you hoped that you never spoke? And perhaps feeling guilty about expressing your anger so quickly. I ask myself, is this really how I want for Trinity to start a new week, a new month, and a new school year? I guess not. And perhaps our reading does not start there. It is important for us to remember how the text begins in verse 17, and it begins with the notion of a gift. It goes like this. Every good and perfect gift is from above. In the foundation of living a Christian life, being faithful to what we hear and learn, overflowing into action of doing our mission, that whole thing comes to us as a gift from God. And that's how it starts. That's how our reading starts. A New Testament scholar, Douglas Moo, suggests that James isn't writing about the call to a sudden conversion, but he's writing about how to let God's word, already implanted in our hearts, have its full effect in our lives. God's word already implanted in our lives, already in our hearts, have its full effect in our lives. When we read this text with that language of God's gift, it is no longer a list of obligation or another set of law, but it becomes more of a response of gratitude for God's grace. To reinforce this importance of Christian life being motivated by gratitude, James talks about a metaphor of a mirror. You remember this from the reading in verse 23 and 24. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what it looks like. What it's saying is that when we look in a mirror, what it reflects back is God's grace that claims who we are as God's child. God's love that is all around us. God's peace that continues to ground us. And God's joy that gives us reason to wake up again the next day. What the mirror reflects back is the fullness of our journey with Christ. So would it be an appropriate response to look at all of that gratitude, that grace, love, joy, and turn away from it and immediately forget the experience? Or is it appropriate to live our lives in a grateful response and to express the gratitude outward? To be a doer rather than just an observer or a hearer, because it all begins from God's gift. But it gets better. James doesn't end there. It gets better. It takes this to another level of promise and hope. And verse 25 says, "Whoever looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they have heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in what they do." They will be blessed in what they do. It'll lead to further blessings. Blessings are not for those who wait. Blessings are not for those who simply stops at letting go and letting God phase. But instead, James is endorsing those who live by an active faith. So going back to my canoe story, when I was reflecting about that, the main reason that I don't really go onto the next level with it is perhaps because it's something new to me, something that is foreign to me, something that I did not grow up with. But when I was able to do it for the first time 2 years ago, I was rewarded with an amazing time with my family. The result was pure gratitude, after all. And those signs, those rewards, are all over the Bible. Abraham, who had faith in God and traveled and moved to this foreign country with his family, later became a patriarch of God's people. Moses, who had faith in God's word, boldly confronted Pharaoh of Egypt. He was able to lead the people of God to liberation. And Esther, who took the risk to sacrifice, she was able to save her people from massacre. And King David, who always believed in the covenant with God, overcomes the giant standing in front of him. Mother Mary, who by faith said yes to God, became the blessing to the whole world by giving birth to our Savior, Jesus Christ. And the story of God's blessings continues on. It continues on in many, many wonderful mission works that you are all involved in. It continues on through the hands that serves in all the ministries through and beyond this church. And that is the good news. That when you do your faith, when you live out your faith, you will be blessed. You will be blessed because you did it. So I'll end this time by repeating our sermon title, a slogan from my favorite brand, Nike. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it, not because it's an either-or situation. Just do it. No matter how new it is to you, or you've never done it before. Because sometimes it's only when you jump in from the deep end that you will meet God. It's only when we paddle on both sides, regardless of your pace, that we will go forward to our destination instead of circling and circling and circling and circling in our own little world. And as we will share the communion today, remember that the connection between God's Word and active faith is most fully expressed and embodied through the example of Jesus Christ himself, who gave his own life so that others might live. When we live by an active and open faith, we can also be a blessing to others, as Jesus was to the whole world. So let us just do it. Just do it. Amen.